Sairam students, welcome back. Today we'll be doing our last lesson in civics. Okay, so we've already learned in our fifth lesson the fundamental rights part 2. Okay, so now what is that we are going to learn in our next lesson? That is chapter number 6 of civics. What do we have? We have directive principles of state policy and fundamental duties. So this is our chapter's name, directive principles of state policy and fundamental duties. Now what does it mean? Okay, let's see what it means. We have already learnt about our fundamental rights guaranteed to us by our constitution. Yes, so the Indian constitution has guaranteed us with the fundamental rights. Yes, and nobody can deny us from enjoying these rights. Fundamental rights put restrictions on the power of the government. Yes, so the fundamental rights which the constitution has guaranteed us, they put certain restrictions on the power of the government. It means it does not allow the government to misuse its power. Yes, so the fundamental rights puts restrictions on the power of the government. State shall not discriminate between and among the citizens on the basis of religion, caste, race, language, gender, etc. So, what are the restrictions put by the fundamental rights on the government? That is the state. The government will not discriminate anybody based on the gender, religion, caste, language, etc. State shall not deny anybody equality before the law and equal protection of the law. Means the government will not deny, does not have the authority to deny anybody equality before the law and also equal protection of the law. Whether it is a poor person or a rich person, both of them are, eligible to get protection from the law. It is equality which matters the most. So the state cannot deny the right to equality to the citizens of India. No person shall be deprived of his or her life. Means whatever life the person wants to live, whether man or woman, they can lead the life the way they want. So they cannot be deprived of their life. Okay, and state shall not impose any religious taxes. This we have already learned. The state cannot impose any religious taxes. Means whether any religion, whether it be Hindu or the Islam, Christianity, or any other religion. So no religious taxes are imposed on the citizens of the country by the government. So these are the restrictions put on the government by the fundamental rights. Now, what are directive principles of state policy? Let's see what does it mean. So, what does directive principles of state policy mean? The state has been given express instructions by the constitution about what policies it should undertake. Means the government has been given certain specific instructions by the constitution about what policies it should undertake, about what decisions it should take, what programs it should bring forth for the benefit of the citizens. This is in the nature of giving directives or guidelines about how to achieve the goals expressed in the preamble. So, whatever is expressed in the preamble, sovereignty, sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, isn't it? And also, so all these to attain all those principles, there are certain directives, certain guidelines being given by the constitution, and the government has to follow those guidelines to achieve the goals expressed in the preamble. Hence, they are called directive principles. Means the direction is being shown. So, they are called the directive principles of state policy, means which the government has to follow. Why were the directives included? Yes, so these directives, they are included for the government to follow it. But why were they included? What was the reason for the inclusion of these directive principles? After independence, India had to face many challenges from the point of view of establishing order and carrying out smooth administration. We all know that India attained independence on 15th August 1947. Yes, India was under the colonial rule of the British, and after independence, though we attained independence, the situation in the country was very chaotic because there was the partition where India was partitioned, divided into India and Pakistan. Okay, so much of riots were taking place. There was no law and order in the country. Yes, so that was a challenge. Yes, that was a difficulty which the government had to face. So for that reason, and also for carrying out smooth administration, working of the country to be carried out in a smooth manner, these directive principles were included. For this, new policies had to be drawn up and the implementation had to be undertaken. Means to establish law and order, to carry out smooth administration, new policies, not the policies which were implemented by the British, but the new Indian policies which India could have as per her own requirement had to be drawn up and the implementation had to be undertaken. Yes, policies had to be brought up, and how to bring those policies into practice, all this had to be planned out. Yes, so that is why the constitution has specified the subjects to which the union and state governments should give priority in their policies for people's welfare through directive principles of state policy. So on the basis of that only, so for smooth administration of the country to maintain law and order, the constitution has specified certain specify the subjects, the certain points to which the union government as well as the state governments, yes, so many we having states, so each state government should give priority, should give preference in their policies for the people's welfare. Yes, so through the directive principles of state policy, so those subjects are specified for through the union government as well as the state government, and they have to frame their policies accordingly. So some important directive principles of state policy, let's see what it is. The state should secure adequate means of livelihood to all citizens without any gender discrimination. Means the government should see to it that adequate, proper, enough means of livelihood means source of income, is available to all the citizens without any gender discrimination, without the discrimination of man and woman. The state should secure equal pay for equal work for both men and women. Means, for example, there should be a policy as to which whether man or woman doing the same kind of work, so the salary which they're getting, the payment which they're getting, it should be equal. So no discrimination over there as well. The state should secure the improvement of public health. Yes, so there will maybe government hospitals, public clinic, government clinics also would be there. So you now see for eradicating polio from our country, there is a campaign, polio campaign going on after every 2 months in our country, where children up to the age of 5 are given the polio dose. So that is one policy, state policy, which the government is following for improvement of public health. Okay, so that is one example over there. The state shall endeavor to protect and improve the environment and safeguard the forests and wildlife of the country. So the state also has the responsibility, it has to make efforts to protect and improve the environment, yes, and safeguard the forests and wildlife of the country, because those are our resources, those are the natural resources of our country. So it is the responsibility of the state government to see to it that they should protect the environment and also improve the environment if it is being damaged, or if it is some sort of damage is being done to the environment, and also to see that the forests are protected, illegal cutting down of trees should be stopped. Yes, and also wildlife, that is the wild animal life should of the country should also be safeguarded. No poaching of animals, no hunting of animals for the skin, for the fur, for the different things from them. So that also the state government has to look into. The state shall protect all monuments of historic interest and national importance. Yes, so whatever monuments, historical monuments which are of national importance, the state shall protect to all those monuments. Like we have the forts, we have the various the temples also, even religious temples from the ancient times. So they need to be protected, they need to be taken care. So that's the responsibility of the state. The state shall promote with special care the educational and economic interests of the weaker sections of the people, especially the scheduled caste and tribe. Okay, so the government shall promote with special care the educational and economic interest, means the people who are belonging to the weaker sections of the society, that is the scheduled caste, especially the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. So for their development, the state should see to it that those people also get source of livelihood. Education is provided to the children over there, and also see to it that they also development along with the other sections of the society. The state shall offer public assistance to citizens in case of unemployment, old age, sickness, etc. Means the government can also provide assistance, help to the citizens if they are unemployed, if people are old, if people are sick also. So those who are sick, they can get they get money for payment is there for their treatment is done by the government. Old age people who are old, so they don't have any source of income, so they are being taken care of by the government. Senior citizens who are there, so they, when they travel, they do not have to pay the ticket money which normally these adults pay. So they have they have to pay less monies compared to the other people. Those who are unemployed also, so their employment opportunities can be generated for such unemployed people. The state shall secure a uniform civil code applicable to the entire country. Means the government should secure a uniform civil code. This is a code where everybody is, uniform means it is equal, it is same throughout the country for each and everybody. Okay, so these are the directive principles, some of the directive principles of state policy. Now, the lesson's name is Directive Principles of State Policy and Fundamental Rights. Now, what is that? These two things, the directive principles of state policy and fundamental rights, are two sides of the same coin. Due to fundamental rights, citizens get the most needed liberty. Yes, we are enjoying our fundamental rights, we are getting the most needed liberty, the freedom we are getting. While directive principles of state policy create an atmosphere conducive to the growth of democracy. Yes, so the directive principles which we saw, so they create an atmosphere conducive, suitable, yes, which helps in the growth of democracy, where the essence of democracy is fulfilled. Yes, so that is why directive principles of state policy and fundamental rights are the two sides of the same coin. Okay, even though we cannot, but there is one thing. See, when our fundamental rights are being denied, we can go to the court. But in case of directive principles, even though we cannot go to the court if a directive is not implemented by the government, we can put pressure on the government in various ways to make a policy in order to meet these goals. Okay, now for example, certain forests are being illegally cut down. Yes, so over there we cannot sue the government, yes, in the court, but then we can put pressure on the government through various methods so that they make an attempt to save the forest. This is one example. Or even if certain employment opportunities are not available to the people, so we cannot take the take the government to the court, but a lot of pressure through certain programs, certain things can be implemented where the pressure has been put on the government so that they make a policy, so that they find out ways to meet the required goals. Okay, then we have fundamental duties. We citizens enjoying fundamental rights. Yes, we want everything according to what we want, but at the same time, being a responsible citizen, we have to follow certain duties. In a democracy, citizens have dual responsibilities. They should not only be vigilant that their rights are not unfairly restricted, but should also fulfill some duties and responsibilities. Means we have to play a dual role over here. One, to see to it that our rights are not violated. Second, we have to fulfill some duties and responsibilities as the citizens of the country. The Constitution has made several provisions through the fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy for people's welfare. The benefits of the various schemes of the government cannot reach all the people if they do not fulfill their fundamental duties. Yes, so whatever policies or whatever provisions are being made, unless and until the people, the citizens, do not fulfill their fundamental duties, these schemes, the benefits of various schemes cannot reach all the people if they do not fulfill their fundamental duties. Now, for example, the government has implemented several projects under its Swachh Bharat scheme, but people too need to change their habits that make public places dirty. In order that the Indian citizens become conscious of their responsibilities, fundamental duties were included in the constitutions. So, like how in our fundamental rights are included in the constitution, similarly, fundamental duties are also included in the constitution. Yes, so for the various benefits of various schemes of the government to be available to the people, they have to be vigilant as to fulfill their responsibilities. Okay, now for example, the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan or the Swachh Bharat scheme, which was implemented to maintain cleanliness all and around different places in public places. Unless and until people are not self-aware that they need to maintain hygiene, need to maintain cleanliness, this scheme of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is not going to accomplish its goal. Yes, it is not for the government's sake, it is for the health, the hygiene of the people at large. Yes, because we are moving in and around the society, we are moving in and around different places. If we only litter the places everywhere, it is going to have a drastic effect on ourselves only, isn't it? If we throw garbage, if we litter here and there, it is we only who are going to suffer all those things, all those pests, the insects, and the stench coming from it, all that we are only going to bear it, isn't it? So it is our responsibility to see to it that whatever duties are being given to us, we need to fulfill those. So let's see what the fundamental duties Indian citizens have to follow: to abide by the constitution and respect the national flag and the national anthem. Yes, we need to be patriotic. Our constitution has given us certain rights. We have to follow certain duties. The first one, which is mentioned here, respect the national flag and the national anthem, isn't it? When we have the flag hoisting on on Independence Day, on the Republic Day, we sing the national anthem. While hoisting, we salute the flag. So we are respecting the national flag, we are respecting the national anthem also. During the national anthem, when the national anthem is being played, we need to be quiet, we need to be standing in attention, paying respect to the national anthem. Even in cinema halls, when you go, before the movie starts, the national anthem is being played, whereby every audience, every person who's coming over to the cinema hall is supposed to, not expected, supposed to stand and respect the national anthem. Yes, to cherish and follow the noble ideas which inspired a national struggle for freedom. So this cherish and follow the noble ideas means whatever our freedom fighters, during the struggle of independence, whatever is their contribution, we need to respect them, we need to cherish them, and we need to pass all their teachings from our generation to the next generation, to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. We are a sovereign nation, no foreign rule. India is a country with lot of diversity, but yet united and integrity. So we need to maintain this sovereignty, this unity, and integrity of India, to defend the country and to render national service when called upon to do so. Yes, so it's not only the whole and sole responsibility of the defense forces to safeguard a country, to protect a country. If time permits, if there are situations where we can also render our national services, that time we need to defend our country. We need to play the role of being a responsible citizen and help our country against any attack and against any enemy invasion and all that. So if we play our role to be true to our role, we will be fulfilling our national duty, our fundamental duty. To promote harmony and spirit of common brotherhood, transcending diversity, to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. Yes, so to promote harmony means you are living in a society with so much of diversity, so many different cultures, different languages, traditions. So we have a common brotherhood, fraternity. Yes, so that fraternity needs to be maintained, and also to renounce practices, to stop the practices derogatory of the dignity of women, where the dignity, the respect of the woman is being deteriorated. So we need to eradicate such practices. The sati practice was eradicated, then domestic violence, all these things need to be stopped, and we need to play a role over there also to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. Yes, the rich heritage, whatever is there, heritage. India is also having certain places which are included in the World Heritage Site. So we need to preserve, we need to value, give a lot of value to this heritage of our composite culture, to protect and improve the natural environment, and to have compassion for living creatures. Like how the state government the government has the responsibility to take safeguard the forest, to protect the environment. Similarly, we also have the fundamental duty to protect the natural environment, the natural resources, and have compassion towards living creatures, to the living the wildlife, the domestic life, the domestic animals, the wild animals. And need to if this all is done, we will be living in a harmonious society. To develop the scientific temper, humanism, and spirit of inquiry and reform. Scientific temper means you do not believe in blind faiths and superstitions. Humanism, being a human. Spirit of inquiry and reform. Inquiry means you try to find out certain new things and try to change it. To safeguard public property and to abjure violence. Yes, you can see certain riots being taking place, public property, the cars, the buses all being burnt up, and we need to stop this. We need to put us, we need to stop this and try our best that these does not occur again. To strive towards excellence in spheres of individual and collective activity, so that the nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement. It is on our part, we have to play the role as how we can excel in different fields, okay, and also as a collective activity, so that our country, the nation, constantly rises to higher levels and achieves great success, not in the global world. Every citizen of India who is a parent or guardian should provide opportunities of education to his or her child or ward between the age of 6 and 14 years. So we have already learned this in our earlier lesson also. Right to education, yes. So that is a right to given to us. But as being the parents or the guardians, the adults have the responsibility to be fulfilled to provide education opportunities to his or her child or ward, those who have between 6 and 14 years. That is, a basic primary education needs to be given to these people. This is one of the fundamental duty to be followed. Okay, so this is what we learned in our lesson, directive principles of state policy and fundamental duties. Directive principles on state policy and fundamental duties are two sides of the same coin. That is why it is said that needs to be balanced. Though fundamental rights put restrictions on the government, yes, but being the citizen of India, we are enjoying the fundamental rights, but at the same time, we need to fulfill the fundamental duties and see to it not only the others also fulfill their own fundamental duties. Okay, so this is what we have in our chapter number 6 of civics, directive principles of state policy and fundamental duties. I hope you have understood it, children. Okay, so stay safe, have a good day, children. Sai Ram.